Rich, welcome. How are you today?
Thanks, Hunter. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm doing well, thanks. Coming
Where are
at
you
you
calling in
from
from?
sunny, yeah, from kind of sunny Seattle. So it's
Oh,
still a little bit summery here. We're not quite into the fall gloom yet.
oh my gosh. I'm in upstate New York right now, and it is 55 degrees. It is full fall. I was like, what's happening? So, Rich, I'd love to hear before we jump into the questions. Can you tell me a little bit about your journey, how long you've been with Expedia, and how did you get to this role, and why do you love your job?
Absolutely, yeah. So I joined Expedia just over 6 years ago as a recruiting director, and I've had a few different roles since I've been here. And that's one of the fun things about Expedia. It's a very ever-changing environment. People move around a lot and get to experience different things. But I've been in the recruiting operations side for the last couple of years. And as part of that, have had a focus on disability inclusion work. So I can relate to disability inclusion with my own disability and my son and families. And I think most people can. Everybody knows somebody, whether it's physical disability or mental health and neurodiversity. And so it's just been a passion of mine. And as part of the operations side of things, I get to look at things like training and awareness for hiring managers and employees and our recruiting team. I get to look at candidate accommodations and accessibility on the recruitment side of things. And then over time, I've become more and more involved with the employee resource group. We call them inclusion business groups or IBGs at Expedia. So our IBG for disability inclusion is called AIM, AIM, which stands for Ability Inclusion Movement. And this past year, I was elected to be the global development chair for that. So we have a pretty good structure with offices and local chapters all around the world. But the development chair role is all about empowering and helping our employees be their best selves. Really make sure that we're looking at inclusion and support for people with disabilities across the company. So some cool initiatives and things that we can talk about here coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for sharing about your personal journey there with your own experience with yourself and with your family. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, let's jump in. So, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, and it sounds like I love how in the trenches you are in this work, and that's really inspiring. Can you speak to what are some of the initiatives or some innovations that you're particularly proud of, and how has it impacted your team and your approach with your role at Expedia Group?
Yeah, sure. So I think one good example of an initiative that's around recruitment operations, which is my focus area, has been looking at our accommodations process for candidates and thinking about how we can do that effectively with a tool and make sure that we're really driving an excellent candidate experience. So candidates may have questions about accommodations for particular roles that they see on our website. They may get invited to interview and need an accommodation to help make sure that they have a level playing field, that they can be successful in the interview. And we want to, handle those requests, make sure that we're responsive and supportive of candidates, but also respect their privacy. If somebody has a condition or a medical issue that they need to get support of, you know, a hiring manager doesn't need to know that. A recruiter doesn't need to know that. We want to make sure that we're supporting them and providing resources as needed in a confidential, trusted way. So we put in ServiceNow. We have ServiceNow as a platform within the company that we use to handle tickets for IT and for help support within HR, but we never used it externally. We've never had a platform where external people can work with us to get questions answered. And so this was novel and new for us. We put a system in place. We have a dedicated team of people that field the questions. Because we have ServiceNow as a platform, we can make sure everything's been assigned to somebody. We can track the responses, make sure that questions get addressed, the tickets get closed out. So there's a lot of, structure behind it. But ultimately, getting that team of people takes the burden off a recruiter. Somebody doesn't need to ask a recruiter questions about accessibility or accommodations. They can go to a dedicated team and engage with them and get that help. And also by centrally managing accommodations, we kind of take the decision making and budget away from hiring managers and teams that may actually cause a disadvantage to a candidate if they needed an accommodation that would cost money. It's all centralized, something that the HR team covers. So that's been an ongoing process to roll that out, and we've just launched it at the beginning of this year, and I'm really excited about the potential for that.
That sounds absolutely fantastic. The relief that could bring to people coming in, applying. I've struggled with this. I field a lot of questions around this of like, when do I disclose? Do I disclose? How I disclose? Maybe a disability, something that's going on, and there's this worry that it's going to work against me, or it's going to be awkward, especially if you're speaking to a hiring manager. It's like you said, it's confidential information, and yet I'm expected to somehow reveal it. And it's like, why
Right.
put that on me? That shouldn't be my responsibility. And the fact that y'all have set that up, that is, I hope everyone follows suit. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and we invite that, right? So all of our job postings have an invitation. Hey, if you need any kind of disability accommodation support, click this link. We're here to help. It's showing up in our invitations to candidates for interviews and so forth. So we're really embedding it. And like you said, kind of removing a recruiter or a hiring manager from that equation. I mean, we have hundreds of recruiters, thousands of hiring managers. So we absolutely want them to be aware of the need to
Mm.
provide accommodations and the fact that it's just a normal thing. It's an opportunity for us to expand our candidate pool by diversifying, having additional people that may otherwise struggle with the process, but are well qualified to do the job. So it kind of, we want them to be aware of it, but don't want to have to own it and make those decisions. That's something that we can do as a centralized team with this new setup.
So great. And your point too about it's a win-win. It's a relief for the recruiters too, because then they were like, oh, I don't know how to handle this. I know I'm supposed to be mindful, but maybe they don't have the training on it. And then it's just everybody, it smooths out the process for everyone. That is so great.
Yeah.
So what are some of the other marketing strategies that y'all use over Expedia Group that don't just check the box of accessibility, but genuinely resonate with diverse communities across the globe?
Yeah, there's a lot that we've been doing on the marketing side as a company here over the last several years. So, one thing that we've done is really invest in our technology platform. So, Expedia Group as a company is actually a series of multiple travel brands. So, we have over 20 travel brands globally. In the US, the big three would be Expedia, but also hotels.com and Verbo, which is our vacation rentals brand. And we've invested in our platform technology to make sure that across each of those different platforms, we have a common booking experience. We're able to manage our hotel inventory that gets displayed to customers effectively. We're able to push out promotions across the platform. We've now rolled out a common rewards program for people to get points and things like that across the different platforms. So just making it a better experience. But part of building all of that, we made accessibility a requirement. So we have a dedicated digital accessibility team, and there's multiple things that they do in order to make any release as accessible as possible. So, and I got a couple notes here from Julia, who was my collaborator on like, what do we do around digital accessibility? So, one of them is that just internally we have a champions network. So we have a lot of folks that focus on disability accommodation and accessibility across different parts of our product suite, and are there as subject matter experts. So we tap into that network as we come out with new product features. We've also come out with what we call the Expedia Group design system. So we have a standardized way that any new web page product gets developed and built and published. And within that, there are accessibility checks. So we've got things where we've required that there be accessibility annotations attached to anything before it gets released. So it's clear, is the screen reader friendly? What are the click steps to get to certain things? How does this work? Just so that we don't take any steps backward. As we launch these sites, they were designed with accessibility in mind for all of our users, but we want to make sure that we don't update and change something that takes a step backward. So those are some of the things that we do on the accessibility side. From the marketing standpoint, we're blessed as a travel company, and travel is a force for good. That's our, world view. Our mission is that we want to power global travel for everyone, everywhere. And you can see the inclusiveness in that statement right there. And we let that come across in our advertising and promotions.
Mm.
So, we really focus on the fact that everyone can benefit and enjoy travel, that it's a way to bring people together regardless of differences, and that experience is something that you can cherish a lot more than maybe a new gadget or buying something else. It's like the travel experience is something that enriches and really is great for people. And so if you look at the imagery, you look at the storytelling that we promote in our ads, things like Verba, where you have families of mixed gender, races, so forth, getting together, to celebrate, to connect. That messaging we think really resonates and promotes diversity. So that's just kind of baked into the advertising strategy that we have.
I love that. And to your first point about the accessibility with the website, I imagine with that checklist, there's certain color contrasts, right? That for certain people with certain visions, if these colors are next to each other, they can't see it. And then that's a complete loss for your user, for like you were saying. And the amount of clicks, I love that example. That's such a great specific thing, because if there's too many clicks, you're like, it can like be a little frustrating, overwhelming, confusing. And with that removed, one, it's another win-win, right? It's helps the users go through it. And for anyone listening that's maybe on the business side, what word I'm going to say now? Friction. And that is friction for your customers, right? So it's, again, this is what I love. And we talk about this a lot at Power to Fly, and Expedia Group is a champion of this, is that embracing diversity actually improves your business and improves your services and products. Period.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, those design standards, obviously help with somebody who's visually impaired specifically, but help all users. It simplifies things, it makes it better. And we're looking at, not just external marketing and external, but also internal. Like what is our PowerPoint design standard that we all use to have our own internal meetings? And to your point, how are we using color and contrast with that? How are we simplifying it to make it less, complex and overwhelming to see a slide with all the stuff on it that somebody who may be neurodiverse or have a visual impairment, it's going to make it less inclusive and accessible to them. So those are all concepts that are baked into the marketing materials that we use both internally and externally.
Yeah, I love that. As a double winner myself, being dyslexic and ADHD, I love a bullet list.
Right. Just give me the facts. Give me the
Just the facts, ma'am. Yeah, I was get smarter. So can you share a little bit, remind me that your ERGs, you call them what is it?
IBGs, yes,
I
inclusion business groups. Yeah.
I love that. I love learning new things on the calls with our partners here. So, can you share a story where one of your IBG initiatives had a meaningful impact in supporting neurodiverse employees at the company?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things I'm really proud about with AIM, the IBG for Disability Inclusion, is the influence that we've had over the years. AIM was one of the original IBGs at Expedia many years ago when that first became a thing. And
Mm.
if you look at the wellness benefits and the things that we have available to employees, a lot of them came about by concepts that the AIM IBG suggested. And one of the more recent ones that we just launched at the beginning of this year is an ADHD coaching program. So,
Sign me up.
yeah, exactly. So my predecessor, who was the previous development chair, this was a concept she thought about. How can we better provide resources for our ADHD employees? Now, we already have a community group for ADHD that, again, was started by AIM. So we have over 300 people in that. We do it in Slack. So we have a Slack channel, a support mechanism there. But we want to take it a step further. How can we actually provide structured coaching? And how can we make sure that the coaches know what they're talking about and can really, add value and support employees? So we developed an intensive training program for people who wanted to be ADHD coaches. It was done in a peer way, so that this was all just employees that raised their hand that were passionate and wanted to participate. Again, driven by that IBG. Those folks went through I think it was a 12 or 14-hour training program with an industry expert that we hired and got budget via the IBG to help us develop the training program and the certification. And so now we have a group of people that are certified ADHD peer coaches, and we're promoting that. So part of our wellness benefits and the things that we talk about, on our intranet and promote to employees. So I was helping to promote that in our awareness month, which was July, um, available for people to sign up, get time with a coach. And it supplements some of the other benefits we have as well. I mean, we, also have things like Friends of Grief as another peer group that supports people that have had, a loss of a loved one. We've got a mentoring program that the HR team runs to connect people with leaders to help mentor them, around career growth. We've got the employee assistance program and counseling services that are available. So that kind of combination of things can really help support folks. But somebody who has ADHD, there are some unique things there. There are some unique situations that they might run into with their boss, with their coworkers, with how they handle projects and work day to day, and coming up with a specific coaching program and a resource for folks in that situation, we felt was a big win. So we're excited about that. We're seeing good participation. We're continuing to promote it, and looking to expand that.
I love that so much. I hope our listeners that are in companies are taking notes and sending this up the ladder, or if you're at the top of the ladder, follow suit, my friends, because that sounds so helpful. And I love to hear that. What I'm also hearing is this aspect of community that is within Expedia Group that are taking these initiatives. People are raising their hands, they're passionate, they want to help. Maybe they're ADHD themselves and they've learned some tools. Maybe they're an ally to the neurodiverse community.
Yeah.
And it's so wonderful how you can bring people together that way. And also, with the other groups as well, you're bringing people to have a shared commonality. And I imagine there's probably a remote aspect to workforce and people are connecting from maybe around the globe. And now we're talking about some real stuff, not just how's the weather, which is fine. But, if we're talking about grief counseling, or I'm really struggling with this aspect of my job because I can't focus when this happens, and someone can bring information to me that's helpful, that's like you said, that's a huge value, but that's also a level of trust that is invaluable.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, and yeah, I mean it doesn't work without dedicated, passionate employees. And I think, Expedia has that in abundance. And you need that when you're a big global enterprise the way we are. I mean, we have, over 15,000 full-time employees globally, and we're very global. So we have offices all around the world. And, in some places, a lot of what we're trying to do with our IBG is break stigmas and just get people to open up. In some parts of the world, it can be an intimidating thing to raise your hand and say, yeah, I suffer from this condition. I have this
Mhm.
disability. And so a big initiative is to kind of break those stigmas, make sure that people know that they have the support and promote that via this group. So, somebody doesn't need to rely on their hiring manager and go through official channels that way to get help and support. They've got a community that they're part of. They see other people are asking questions and getting help. And that, communal support is really hugely valuable.
Absolutely. A little shout out to some comments in the chat earlier when we were talking about accessibility with the websites. Catherine Hicks says, as a designer, I'm so geeking out to hear how much accessibility is integrated into your design system. Yeah, I know designers are like, yes.
Yes, no, and we have a team of folks that do both digital accessibility design, as well as look at accessibility of our tools and systems and real estate across the company. And yeah, when I talked to Julia Edbrook, who's also in our AIM IBG as our communications chair. She works in that team and spearheads a lot of efforts. She was completely geeking out. I mean, she sent me this. So yeah, what are some things that I should highlight? And she sent me like 3 pages of, oh, we do this, we do that, we do. So I couldn't even do it justice. But yeah, there's a lot of passion there, which is great.
Yeah, well, you'll have to come back. I'm sure we could talk so much more about all of this.
Do a special session on that. Yeah.
Yeah, we could. We really could. And all the designers come. Uh, So we only have about 5 or 6 minutes left. I'd love to hear about how are you thinking ahead for new projects over at Expedia Group that might elevate accessibility, and why would you want it to be that way, and how would you want to make those things?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that we want to do and would like to get to. I mean, one initiative that I was involved with, partnering with folks within our inclusion and diversity team, was a listening sessions, I should say, that we conducted over the last year, where we went out to meet disability advocates in different parts of the world that travel a lot. And we wanted to understand from them, what was their experience? What are some of the challenges they have? How could a company like Expedia help make their life better? We're the travel platform. We're the ones that, bring the hotels, the rental cars, the cruise ships, everything, and make it available to people. What could we do to both influence those providers, as well as educate them and get better information to travelers with disabilities and different types of conditions. So there was a lot of amazing feedback that we received with that, and a lot of things that we want to try to do. Certainly, when you think about accessibility, there's a lot to that. When somebody says, "Oh, I want to book an accessible room at a hotel," what does that mean? Well, like, accessibility to somebody in a wheelchair is very different to somebody who's blind or to somebody who's deaf. And so, how do we categorize and better give visibility into the actual accessibility features that these properties have? And by doing that, they can be rewarded by travel bookings from people with disabilities that feel secure. Yes, I know what I'm going to get when I stay here, and I'm going to choose this over someplace else where I don't know that. So you kind of get that virtuous cycle of, okay, I'm now being recognized as a destination choice in this location because I'm advertising these accessibility features. I'm going to double down on that. I'm going to make sure that all of my hotels in my chain have that, and so forth. So, that's the kind of opportunity we have as the world's travel platform. It takes a long time to get that going. There's a lot of partnering, influencing, and there's kind of two ways that we can do it. We can do it within our own site, but we can also, as a company, we power a lot of other travel sites. So things like, Chase and various credit card companies, even airlines, when you go to their site and they're offering up hotels along with whatever, chances are they're using Expedia on the back end. That's a big part of what we do. So, we also have Wheel the World as a company that we helped invest in that really target, disabled travelers in a wheelchair. And so, how can we help them get the type of information they need to present to their users about hotels and so forth? So it's a really big, complicated effort, but it's such a great opportunity. So it's something I'm really advocating for, and I think it'll be a multi-year effort, but would be a great thing to push forward.
Yeah, I love that. And this last couple of minutes, I'd love to hear about how you welcome your diverse workforce when you're onboarding folks. Like you said, you're a global community, a global group. What do you do to make sure that the new hires feel welcome and included right from the start?
Yeah, so we have an onboarding journey, which is an item that we're looking to improve and invest in. It's, I think, another good opportunity for us where, how do we get somebody new to have enough time to really understand the landscape of the company, the benefits they have, the different communities that they're a part of by joining Expedia, and especially those IBG connections, so that they can feel supported and just kind of understand all of that before they jump into this day job. Most roles at Expedia, you've got a lot on your plate. There's a lot of responsibility. We're a very global, complex company, so you might be drinking from the fire hose, when you start. But breaking out that time and making that something where everybody has that universal break-in period to really understand the community is a key. So our real estate team are excited to get everybody a chance to come in and get a tour before they start work, which is a great thing for accessibility and looking at maybe accommodations that we might need to make there. But for just anybody, understanding the work environment, the things that we do to support them, is critical. So, I know that refreshing and focusing on onboarding is an initiative going into next year. So I'm excited to see what that will bring.
I love this. We're all on a journey and we are exactly at time, Rich. How did we do that? That was wild. It changed right when you said that. Uh, Rich, this has been so great. I hope you do come back and I really appreciate you making the time. This is honestly, it's very hopeful to hear all of this stuff that y'all are currently doing and planning on. And I hope everyone follows suit because it sounds like a great place to work. So thank you for doing the good stuff.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. And Rich, if people want to stay in contact with you, what's the best way to reach out?
Well, I'm out on LinkedIn. So Rich James, Expedia Group, you should definitely find me there. So please, feel free to connect. And I will get back to you that way.
Fantastic. Rich, enjoy the rest of your last of little bits of summer over there in Seattle. And thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
All right. Thanks, Hunter. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Take care now.